Welcome everybody to my latest video. So for this video, I'm going to tell you guys my opinion on whether I think this Arcade 1-Up Star Wars edition is truly worth it. Now, as you know, it comes with Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. There's plenty of videos on YouTube of people giving their opinions. However, based on the videos that I've seen, and I have not seen them all, I think it might be fair to say that my opinion is perhaps the most unbiased. And this is why I say that. And again, this is just going off the videos that I have seen. So there may be a bunch of videos that that are the opposite of the ones that I've seen. But it seems like the people who praise the Arcade 1-Up Star Wars edition, it seems like those people have nothing but Arcade 1-Up machines and have never owned a real arcade machine. Or they may have at one time owned a real arcade machine, but, you know, many years ago, and, you know, they only owned it for a very small time. On the other hand, you got people who own real arcade machines and have never owned an Arcade 1-Up machine, and they're just bashing the crap out of it. Or they're, you know, this is also including forums, the same thing. People who wouldn't even bother to try the Arcade 1-Up because they're arcade purists. Now, me, if you've watched my channel, you know I've had arcade machines, pinball machines, fruit machines, slot machines, multi-carts, Pandora boxes, other multi-gaming carts. I've had main cabinets, multiples. So I've pretty much owned a huge variety of gaming devices. So my opinion is very broad. So, do I think... Oh, and by the way, sorry, this is the only image you're going to see. It's not going to be any gameplay. It's just looking at the image that you're looking at right now and listening to what I have to say. So if that's going to bore you, then get out, go someplace else. If you want what I think is the most true, unbiased opinion you can listen to, well, stay here and just listen. Now, people are asking, is it worth it? Well, if you're asking that question, chances are you've already come to the conclusion of whether you're going to buy it or not. And you're just looking for confirmation that your decision is the correct decision. And that's something that only you can decide. Now, this thing, the Star Wars edition of the Arcade 1-Up, is $499.99. You add tax into that, that's over $500. Assuming you don't have to pay tax, maybe you're in one of those lucky states that don't have sales tax, which I think there's a couple of them. There's shipping costs. You might have to pay for shipping. Shipping can be anywhere between, I'd say, free and, you know, $45, $65, depending on where you go. You might be able to pick it up in the store. If you do that, well, you have to use your time to go to the store to get the item. Depending on where you go, there might be some sort of a processing fee. You know how websites are. Me, I got this from GameStop. It was $499.99 plus tax, free shipping. I placed the order on a Monday morning, or perhaps it was, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Monday morning. Or it may have been Sunday night. Either one of those. All through the week, I kept looking online. It said my order was quote-unquote in progress. It arrived Saturday, so it arrived in less than a week, and they had them in stock. Now, one of the reasons that this machine is more expensive than others is, one, you got the Star Wars licensing fee. Two, you have to, or it comes with a riser. You don't have to install the riser, you know, but it does make it taller. The riser, I think they said, is 23 inches tall. I could be wrong about that, but just for the sake of looking, there's the riser. Yeah, not really a good view, but you can see it does make a difference in terms of height. on my camera. Let's get it. There we go. I think. Maybe. Who knows? Alright, so you're paying for a riser. Let's try and get this lower. Hold on one second. Something's not right. Okay, much better. Now, again, the reason that this machine is more expensive is, one, the Star Wars licensing fee. You know that can't be cheap. Two, you got a riser that you're paying for. Whether you install it or not is totally up to you. However, I can tell you, without the riser, this machine would probably go to about right here. Yeah. The other thing is your flight yoke. That is a very unique controller. So if you take one of the other arcade 1UP machines, if those controllers go bad, the joystick, the buttons, very simple to replace. You can get a replacement at a variety of places. Joystick will cost you what? Anywhere between $8 and $40, depending on what type of joystick you get. Buttons are anywhere between 75 cents to $2, depending on the quantity you buy and where you buy. This thing, that breaks. Right now, the only place that you'd be able to get a replacement, if you need a replacement, would probably be Arcade 1UP. Okay? Just like real arcade cabinets, if that joystick broke or those buttons broke, I could find a replacement easily. However, if I had a real Star Wars arcade cabinet, finding a replacement, there's only one place, a third party that I know of, that makes replacements. And I believe the cost is $350. Now, here's the other thing. Although I've owned MAME machines and multi-carts and various emulators, and I have nothing against those devices, and if you watch my videos, you'll know that I have always stated that I prefer the original hardware. When people ask me, should I get a Pandora's box or should I get a real cabinet of Super Street Fighter 2 Grandmaster Challenge or Super Turbo, and they tell me that's the only game that they're interested in playing, I tell them I will always recommend the original hardware. Original hardware is always better. It's always better on the original machines. It just is. Now, you may be a gamer to where you don't realize how good the original is compared to emulators, and that's okay. So again, I do always recommend the original stuff. However, this issue is a little bit different. So, here's where we go into whether it's worth it or not to you. If you are an arcade purist, then this machine is not for you. Okay? You will not be happy with it. It is a toy. And instead of spending the money on that, you can spend your money on something else, another game. Heck, you could probably, if you're lucky, get a Turtles in Time PCB. Although $500 would be on the low end. Now, if you are not into arcade machines, but you remembered playing this thing as a child, and you just want to have that nostalgia effect, that the remembrance of what it used to be, is this worth it? I think it is. I can already tell, and even though the last time I played the real arcade cabinet of Star Wars, it was probably 30-some years ago, I can tell that there's a difference. I'm pretty sure there's some slight differences. I'm not 100% sure. And then also, you got the flat screen, high definition screen versus the old original, type screen. There is a difference. Average gamers will not notice. Just like comparing, Street Fighter 30th Edition Super Turbo to Grandmaster Challenge or an American Super Turbo game. There's differences. The average gamer will not notice. However, I can notice, and I do see the differences. Now, $500. If you remember from the previous video, I told you I sort of, in a way, got this for free. So I'm just going to go into that story right here. Hopefully you might find it interesting. because it kind of threw me for a shocker. I was at my grandfather's house and we were cleaning out his garage. He just had a lot of stuff in there. His garage basically became a storage unit for boxes from other family members. He didn't keep his car in there. He didn't mind, but we all decided, it's time to clean it out, get all the junk out of there. Let him park his car in there. I think because he got a brand new car and he just wanted to start parking inside. Anyways, so we're over there. And this is stuff in boxes that me, cousins, uncles, stuff that was there that hasn't been touched in ages, in years and years and years. And some of it would have names, on it. And so I'm, going through this stuff. I'm like, oh, geez, I can't remember anything I have there. I see some boxes. Actually, it was one box. There's a couple boxes with my name, but this one box in particular, I'm thinking, I don't remember putting anything here. It just must have been old, I don't know, stuff I have no longer use for, because why would I keep it over here if I need it? And I was going to toss it out. That's what everyone else was doing. It was just tossing it all in the trash. I thought, oh yeah, I'm just going to toss it. Let's just, hurry up and we can all go out to eat. Well, something in the back of my mind said, you know what? Go through it, just in case. Particularly this one box, because it felt not heavy. It just felt like there was multiple items in there, and I couldn't tell what it is. So I put it down. I opened it up, and holy Jesus Christ, there are a bunch of arcade items in there, and I'm just dumbfounded. I'm the only one in the family who's really into arcade machines now. I'm thinking, when did I leave this here? I can't remember. And I'm just trying to think in my memory, what the heck? I mean, there were buttons, joysticks, there was some PCBs, Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, some other stuff, power supplies. And I'm just like, Jesus, I don't remember. And I'm trying to think back. Why would I have stored this there? And how did I forget about it? And it finally clicked in my head. Many, many years ago, right around, if you've been a long-time viewer, I had my first YouTube video possibly in 2007? Maybe? Sounds about right. But anyways, when I made my first YouTube video, I had already been collecting machines for a couple years. And so I've had games and cabinets before that first YouTube video. I know this is getting off subject, but so what? It's my video. Anyways, and I remembered when I first started to get into arcade machines, I went to a swap meet over in like the LA area. And I can remember this one guy, he was selling boxes of quote unquote computer items. Now, I had just barely been into arcades, so I saw them and I knew exactly what everything was. Not in terms of, which hardware, but I knew those are gaming PCBs. That's an arcade power supply. Those are buttons and joysticks. And God, there must have been about 5 or 6 boxes of stuff. And I remember I purchased it all. There was like a couple $100 for everything. My family thought I was crazy. I was taking a huge gamble because I didn't know if any of it worked, but I got it, took it back to my grandfather's house, started sorting through it, and I guess I just left a box behind. I must have either forgot that I had a box there, or maybe I told myself maybe my car was full. I can't see that happening. It's certainly possible. Maybe I had other stuff. And I said, okay, I'll just, come and get this next time I visit. And over a decade later, I totally forgot about it. So, if I hadn't made that split-second decision to go through this stuff, and if I had just tossed it in the trash like everyone else was doing, they had rented a big trash container. kind of like the ones you find like for businesses. So if I would have just tossed stuff in there, I never would have I never would have seen these items, and therefore I never would have, had any money once, I sold these items. So, anyways, I got all the stuff. This was a couple weeks ago. Brought it back, tested it out. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. I could tell the games had corroded, but I had a lot of good stuff. And I just, I sold it to someone I knew who was, kind of looking into expanding their arcade inventory. And I sold everything I had for probably about $700. Yeah, and that was really nice because it was all to one person. What I can tell you is it was like 2 working World Warrior World Warrior PCBs, some power supplies, joysticks, buttons. There were some marquees, some bezels, some side art. I had a CPS2 Street Fighter Alpha A and B board. So it was everything all added up, came out to a fair price, and I got $700 for it. I probably could have gotten a lot more, like probably closer to $800 or $900, had I decided to sell things individually and online. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to play the waiting game. I didn't want to have to hassle with going to the post office. So I sold it to this person. He's happy. I'm happy. This is money that I never would have had if I hadn't made that split decision. So what did I do? I decided, you know what? Under normal circumstances, I would not get this Star Wars machine, but I'm going to get it. Why not? It's basically free money, so to speak. Again, had I thrown the stuff away, I wouldn't have gotten this money, and therefore, I would have never missed the money. So, in essence, it was like finding money on the ground. And yeah, some of it went into my pocket. The rest of it went to this. So you might find that interesting. I know it kind of got off subject, but you might have found it amusing. Now, is it worth the money? $500 plus for this? Personally, for me, I never would have bought this had I not just experienced what I told you. It would have been too high of a price for me. My price for it, if it was like $300, yeah, I'd definitely get it. Now, would it be worth $500 to you? That's for you to decide. Do I think it's worth $500? Maybe barely. I think the riser isn't arcade 1-up risers. Aren't those like $100? I could be wrong. You add into the fact the licensing fee. You add into the fact the custom yoke controller. You add into the fact what game it is. Yeah, I guess you could say it's worth $500, just barely. Now, would I rather have an original, real Star Wars arcade cabinet? Definitely. I would love to have that. If I had the choice between the original or this and cash, I would take the original. Now, on the flip side, if you want that nostalgia and if you had the choice between this or an original cabinet, I would recommend this one for you. And why? Well, let's just say this cabinet, the game went bad, or the joysticks went bad, the buttons, even the monitor to a degree. All of those can be replaced fairly quickly. If I had, or if you had an original Star Wars arcade cabinet and the game board went bad, those are not readily available. If you need to buy a Star Wars reproduction flight yoke, that's, I believe, $350. If you had to replace the monitor or get the original monitor fixed, that's going to cost you. Even the bricks on the inside, the power items, the electrical gizmos, so to speak, layman's terms, yeah, those are hard to come by. So out of an original cabinet or this, for the average person, what would I recommend? I'd say get the arcade 1-up. It's going to cost you a lot less, and if it breaks down, you can probably get rid of it pretty easy. Whereas an original cabinet, that breaks down, you got a giant paperweight. Although you could probably list it in the paper and give it away, and someone will scoop it up within 30 minutes. But yeah, do I think it's worth it? As controversial as it may be, I think so. But again, that depends on the type of person you are and what you are looking for. So there you are. That's my opinion. I know it's a long video. It's probably hitting the 20-minute mark. I apologize. But take it for what it is. Until next time.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.